She didn't remember how many days had passed since she'd last seen the sun. Her cell, a narrow stone box with walls crusted in old rust and dried blood, offered no light, no warmth, and no kindness. The only sound was the slow, sickening clink of her chains when she shifted, which wasn't often. Her wrists were raw. Her ankles had long since grown numb. The collar around her neck tugged if she moved too far from the wall, a cruel reminder of what she was now, owned. She had no name anymore. No one called her by one. If she had screamed it once, shouted it into the dark halls of the auction pits, it was gone now, swallowed by dust and silence. The other girls used to whisper in the cages near hers, but they'd been sold or taken. Now she was alone. When the door creaked, she flinched. She always did. The heavy bolts and warped metal hinges screamed before they moved, giving her just enough time to curl into herself and prepare. This time she didn't look. Men came for different things. Some brought hunger, others brought pain. She didn't scream anymore. It had become useless and worse, entertaining. But this time was different. She felt it before she saw it. No rush of boots, no breath reeking of smoke and alcohol, no snarling or laughter, just a presence. Still, she stayed silent, curled in her corner, her knees tucked tightly to her chest, her bony arms like sticks wrapped around her ribs. Then something dropped, not a chain, not a baton, it was soft and warm. A blanket. Her eyes opened slowly. She hadn't cried in days, tears took water she didn't have. But the sight of something clean, folded, and untouched in front of her made her throat close tight. "You must be freezing," a voice said. She froze. It was human, male, deep, older, but it wasn't mocking, it didn't strike or command. She dared a glance. He didn't stand like the others, didn't leer, didn't carry a whip or keys or a datapad. He wore simple brown clothes dusted with grease and age, a long coat, boots, and a worn leather satchel over one shoulder, silver threaded through his beard. He didn't move closer. He just sat leaned against the far wall, legs crossed, hands resting gently on his knees. She didn't understand. No one came to watch her unless they wanted something. "Are you not going to hurt me?" Her voice came out cracked and too small. He shook his head, "No." "Then why are you here?" He took a breath. "I was sent to inspect the pens, but I'm not here to buy anyone." "Then why the blankets?" He looked at her with something she had not seen in so long. It felt like pain. "Because you're still a person, and people deserve warmth." She bit the inside of her cheek. That word person stung like a brand. Her fingers twitched. After a long time she reached forward. Her bones felt like glass. Her skin trembled, but she pulled the blanket to her chest. It smelled of old soap and wind. She buried her face in it and tried not to sob. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to," he said after a while. She didn't. He stayed anyway. When he left, he said, "I'll come back tomorrow." She didn't believe him. But he did. Morning came with thin sunlight through the cracks in the ceiling. She had not slept. Her body still remembered fear. Every sound, every shift of stone made her heart jump. Then came the boots. Slow, measured. The door opened. And there he was. This time he brought a tin cup. "It's warm," he said, "sweet, it might help you a little." She stared at it, smelled something like grain and honey. She did not move. He pushed it forward across the stone, then sat same place, same way. Her fingers crawled forward, touched the tin. It wasn't poisoned, it didn't burn. It was sweet. And it was the first thing that had tasted like hope in years. "What's your name?" he asked gently. She blinked. "I don't remember," she whispered. He nodded, not surprised, not judging. "I'm Roar," he said. "I fix machines." "You're not like them." "No, I don't believe in cages." She looked at him, really looked. "Then why are you here?" He paused. "I came to find something worth saving." She shook her head. "We're not worth saving." "You're not a slave," he said. "You're someone they broke, but broken doesn't mean worthless." Her breath hitched. No one had ever said that. "I don't know how to be anything else." "You don't have to know yet," he said. "Just don't give up." On the fourth day, he came with a key. She froze. Her heart raced. She thought it was a trick. "Please don't sell me," she cried. "I'll listen, I'll clean, don't send me to the mines, please." Roar's face twisted in pain. "I'm not selling you." "But the gate." He opened it, stepped back. "You can live," he said, "your choice." She stared. No chains, no guards, no command. Just light. Sunlight through a crack in the far wall, golden real. She stood slowly. Took one step. Then another. She passed the threshold. Nothing happened, no alarms, no shouts. She stood in the sun and wept. Roar didn't move, didn't interrupt. When she turned to him, eyes still wet, she asked, "Why?" "Because someone should have done this a long time ago." She stayed. Not because he asked. Because she didn't want to go. He built a fire, cooked soup, sat beside her but never too close. She asked, "Where did you learn to cook like this?" "Long ago," he said, "I had someone to cook for." She didn't ask more. He played music soft and strange, a lullaby he called it. She cried, not from pain, but from the weight of being seen. He said, "You're still fighting." She whispered, "I don't know how to thank you." "You don't have to." And when the soldiers came, Roar stood in front of her. He bled for her. She held his wound with shaking hands, pressing cloth into it, refusing to let him fall. "You shouldn't have done that," she said. He smiled, "Bad habit." "Why?" "Because someone should have," he said again. She cried into his coat and whispered, "I don't want to lose you." That night she stood watch, plasma rifle in her lap, watching shadows not as a slave but as a guardian. He slept. She whispered to the fire, "You saved me from more than chains." And in the quiet she felt something new begin. Herself, and maybe something more than that. Snow drifted softly outside the old workshop, catching light from the windows like tiny stars. Inside, warmth pulsed from the small fire. Roar kept going in the furnace. The girl, still unnamed, sat on a worn mat, her thin frame wrapped in the same blanket he had given her days ago. It no longer felt like foreign fabric. It felt like armor, like safety. Roar was sleeping in the chair near the hearth. His injured arm was bandaged tightly, but the lines of pain around his mouth remained. The gash hadn't gotten worse, and that meant everything. She watched him breathe. The steady in and out of his chest gave her something to hold onto. When he coughed in his sleep, she stood and gently covered him with another cloth. It wasn't much, but it made her feel useful. For the first time in years, she wanted to be useful. The next day, she found an old broom leaning behind a pile of junk in the back room. She didn't ask for permission, she just swept. Slowly, carefully, moving dust and broken things into a pile near the door. When Roar woke, he watched her quietly, didn't stop her, didn't praise her either, just nodded like it was the most natural thing in the world. "You feeling strong enough to go outside?" he asked that afternoon. She hesitated, then nodded. Snow crunched under her bare feet as she stepped out into the pale winter sun. She squinted up at the sky, 2 moons hung like watchers above the trees. The cold bit her skin, but the air was clean, not like the pits, not like the pens. Just air and sky and silence that didn't threaten. She stood on the hill behind the workshop, breathing it all in. The world felt too big, too open. She almost turned back, but then she heard him behind her. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he said. She nodded slowly, her voice barely worked. "I forgot what the sky looked like." Roar didn't answer. He just stood beside her, both of them facing the horizon, not needing to fill the space with noise. They ate together every night. He always gave her the bigger portion, no matter how she argued. One night, as they sat with bowls of soup in hand, she asked, "Why do you live out here?" Roar looked into the fire. "Too much noise in the cities, too many things I didn't want to remember." "Did you lose someone?" He nodded. "A long time ago." She didn't ask who, not yet. After a pause, she whispered, "I think I had someone once, maybe a sister, a mother." "What happened?" She shook her head. "They took everything. I don't remember their names, only the screaming." Roar placed his hand gently on the floor near hers, not touching, just close. "You don't have to carry that alone." She swallowed hard. "You still don't know my name," she said. "No," he said, "but I brought you one." Her head lifted. He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded piece of paper. She opened it slowly, one word handwritten. "Zmira." She whispered it, tasted it, felt it. "It means quiet river," Roar said, "always moving, never breaking." She blinked fast, her lips trembled. "Mira," she said again. And the name fit like breaths. Weeks passed, Roar recovered slowly, and so did she, Mira. She began to speak more, ask questions, even laugh, though the sound startled her at first. Roar showed her how to use the old tools, how to patch metal, clean gears, and work the heater. She wasn't strong yet, but she was quick. Sometimes they ate in silence, sometimes they told stories. He spoke of his old life as a soldier before the war. She listened, always listening. One night as the fire crackled low, Roar asked, "Do you dream, Mira?" She hesitated, "Sometimes, not often." "What do you dream of?" She looked at the flames, safety, and music. He smiled, pulled out the little device again. Soft music played, she closed her eyes. "I want to learn," she said after a while. "Learn what?" "Reading, writing, fixing things." He chuckled gently, "We can start tomorrow." Mira looked at him then, her eyes bright despite everything. "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me." Roar didn't speak, but he reached over slowly, and this time she didn't flinch when his hand rested over hers. On the edge of the forest, a shadow watched them. A drone, silent and dark, floated beneath the trees. Its lens glowed faintly red as it zoomed in on the workshop. Inside, Mira laughed softly. Her voice was quiet but clear. "You're getting better," Roar said as she soldered a wire. She smiled, proud. Outside, the drone clicked once, then sped away, vanishing into the clouds. Someone knew she was alive. Spring came slowly to the forest, softening the frozen ground and pulling green from branches that had slept through the frost. Birds returned, their calls unfamiliar to Mira but welcome. Each morning, the frost melted a little sooner. Each evening, the wind carried warmth instead of ice. And inside the workshop, something else thawed, trust. Mira had begun to sleep through the night. Not every night, but enough to matter. She no longer jumped at every creak. The blanket stayed on the cot now, not curled around her shoulders like armor. Roar still kept a spare one folded nearby. She had taken to organizing things in the workshop, old gears, rusted bolts, coils of insulated wire. When she didn't know what something was, she asked. When Roar explained, she listened. He taught her how to fix small generators, repair drone panels, weld broken steel with care. Her hands were still thin but steady now. Roar found her one afternoon hunched over a broken data pad, tongue between her teeth, soldering new threads into the connection. "That's your fifth one this week," he said. "And the first I haven't ruined," she replied, eyes gleaming. He chuckled, "We'll call it progress." He started reading lessons next. The language of the galaxy was hard but not impossible. He scratched letters into the dust on the table, taught her the shapes, the sounds, the patterns. She repeated them, slow at first, then faster. One evening, after she successfully read an entire sentence from an old field manual, Roar handed her a folded sheet. "What's this?" she asked. "Something for you to read, no pressure." It was a letter, short, carefully written. "To Mira, you are not a thing, not a tool, not a mistake. You are light rediscovered, never forget that." She blinked, then read it again and again. That night she kept the letter under her pillow. But the shadows were never far. Roar had noticed it first. The motion sensor near the ridge pinged, twice, too precise for wild animals. Mira saw it in his eyes, the way he began checking the charge on the rifle more often, how he reinforced the old steel shutters. "Is it them?" she asked one night. Roar nodded. "I think so. Someone saw you or thinks they did." Mira's stomach turned. She felt it all rushing back, the collars, the boots, the pain. Roar touched her shoulder gently. "We won't let them take you." She nodded, but fear had a weight all its own. 3 nights later it happened. She woke to the smell of smoke. Roar was already moving. The outer fence had been breached. Fire licked at the edge of the woodpile. 3 shadows moved in the trees. Mira grabbed the rifle. Roar took the second. Shots rang out, bright blue pulses against the dark. Mira crouched behind the generator and fired, once, twice. One figure dropped. Roar's arm was bleeding again. "They're trying to burn us out," he growled. Mira ran to the water tank, pulled the emergency line, doused the flames on the north wall. Smoke stung her eyes, but she kept moving. Then a voice. "You can't keep her, Roar. She's registered property. The syndicate wants her back." Roar didn't answer. Another shot, another scream. The shadows retreated. Mira stood panting in the smoke. Her hands shook, not from fear, from fury. "They'll come again," she said. Roar leaned against the wall, wincing. "Let them. We held tonight, we'll hold again." But she saw it in his eyes. He was tired, bleeding, and more were likely coming. The next day they buried the fallen attacker at the edge of the woods, not out of mercy but necessity. Mira dug most of the grave herself. Roar tried to help, but his arm gave out. She said nothing, just kept digging. When it was done, she stood there a long time. "I'm not going back," she said finally. Roar didn't reply. He didn't have to. That night, Roar opened a hidden panel beneath the floor. Inside was a locked case. He opened it and handed her a small, dusty box. "What is it?" she asked. "Your past or part of it." Inside were records, data clips, one with a faded image. Azora. Younger, cleaner, dressed in soft fabric, standing beside a woman with silver markings on her skin. "My mother," she whispered. Roar nodded. "The resistance tried to hide you, said you were part of a treaty family, someone betrayed them." Mira sat back, trembling. "I had a family." "You still do," Roar said softly. She looked up at him, and something settled in her chest, not quite peace, but purpose. "Then we fight, we don't hide." Roar smiled, tired but proud. Over the next days, they prepared. Mira rewired the defense perimeter, repurposed drone cores, booby-trapped the approach paths. She soldered metal panels to reinforce the door, trained with the plasma rifle until her shoulder bruised. Roar watched her, always with that quiet pride. "You're becoming dangerous," he said once. "I was always dangerous," she replied. "They just made me forget." They came at dawns. 6 this time, better armed, not mercenaries, enforcers. But the traps held. 2 were down before they reached the clearing. Roar sniped a third. Mira took out the fourth with a shock mine. Then came the captain, armored, brutal. He slammed through the door, shouting, "Return the asset, final warning." Mira stepped forward. Not shaking, not afraid. "I am not your asset." He raised his weapon. Roar fired first. The blast knocked the captain back into the wall. He didn't get up. Smoke curled in the air. Quiet fell. Then Roar sank to one knee, clutching his side. "You're hit," Mira said, rushing forward. "Just a graze," he lied. She tore a strip from her tunic, pressed it to the wound. "You can't keep getting hurt for me." "Then stop needing saving," he said, smiling weakly. She laughed, then cried. Then kissed his cheek. That night, as stars scattered across the sky, Mira sat beside him on the steps. "Do you think they'll stop coming?" she asked. Roar looked up. "No, but you'll be ready." She leaned her head on his shoulder. "Not always." "Always we," he said. And for the first time, she believed it. Rain fell in gentle sheets 2 days after the attack, soaking the forest and washing away the ash that had settled near the clearing. The flames that had scorched the north wall of the workshop left black marks, but the structure still stood. So did the people inside it. Roar was resting. The graze had gone deeper than he'd admitted, and infection had set in. Mira changed his bandages every morning, crushed herbs for his fever, and used the scanner he had taught her to calibrate. She barely left his side, not because she was afraid, because she knew what it felt like to be left alone. "You should sleep," Roar rasped one evening. "I did," she lied. He gave her a crooked smile. "You never were good at that." She shook her head. "You saved me, let me save you back." On the 5th day, a message came. A battered drone landed outside the perimeter, wings sparking. It wore the seal of the Free Orbit Coalition, a resistance group known for aiding refugees. Mira approached cautiously, rifle ready. Roar struggled to stand when he saw the seal. They wouldn't send a drone unless something big. Inside the drone was a message. To Roar of Station 3A9. Subject: confirmed identification, Mira of Lyoness Treaty lineage. Secured individual located, Cylon, age 6, confirmed biological descendant, currently held at Calther encampment under false registry. Request immediate extraction before relocation. Mira dropped the device, her knees buckled. "Cylon," she whispered, "my child." Roar moved to her, steadied her by the shoulders. "It's real, I didn't know, I swear." She trembled. "They told me she died in the mines of fever." "They lied," Roar said, "like they always do." Her breath caught in her chest, her heart thundered. "We have to get her now." Roar shouldn't have gone. He could barely walk, his side wrapped in bandages. But he went anyway. They took the hover skiff, stocked with what little rations they had. Mira rode silent, her fingers gripping the side rail, wind tearing through her hair. Calther was 2 ridges over, tucked into an old mining pit turned detention zone. The syndicate used it for undocumented miners, children pulled from resistance camps, falsely labeled, sold to high-bid houses. "How do we get in?" she asked. Roar looked at the map. "We don't break ins, we walk ins." "What?" He pointed to the back gate. You're her mother, you're on the registry again, we use their own data against them. The plan almost fell apart when the guard at the gate sneered. You again, what did you lose this time? My daughter, Mira said, keeping her voice calm. Oh, another one of you claiming kins. Roar stepped forward, data crystal in hand. Updated orders, check your scan line. Begrudgingly, the guard scanned it. Looks legit, he muttered. And they were ins. Silent was smaller than Mira remembered, thinner, her hair cropped close, her eyes dull. But when their gazes met across the wire fence of the inner block, something ancient sparked. Mama, the child whispered. Mira fell to her knees. Yes, oh stars, yes. Roar unlocked the gate. Silent ran forward, flung herself into her mother's arms. Mira held her so tightly, afraid that letting go would make her vanish again. They said you were gone, Silent cried. They said you were bad. Never believe them. They fled before the shift change. The skiff roared through the ravine, Silent clinging to her mother's coat. Roar drove fast but careful. When they reached the workshop, Mira tucked Silent into the cot, wrapped her in all the blankets. You're safe, she whispered, you're safe now. But safety is never permanent. On the third night, an emergency broadcast cut through the region-wide frequency. Priority alert, escaped miner Silent of Calther encampment identified. Harboring fugitives will be met with lethal response. Roar muted the signal, they tracked us. They know we have her, Mira said, her voice was steel. Then we need to end it. The tribunal took place 2 days later. The resistance smuggled them into a hidden outpost within a mountain chamber deep beneath the old capital. Walls of black stone surrounded them, filled with people who wore the scars of rebellion and hope. A panel of elders presided. Roar gave testimony. Mira spoke of her past, of the mines, the cages. But when the prosecutors accused her of faking her identity, of being a planted saboteur, she said nothing. She just held her daughter's hand. And then Silent stepped forward. I have something, the child said, holding up a small device. Silent, Mira whispered, you don't have to. I want to. The panel allowed it. Silent activated the device. A hologram projected from it, a secret recording made from her time in the encampment. It showed Overseer Brandt, a syndicate official, instructing guards to falsify family records, to mark children as orphaned, to silence those who remembered who they were. This will keep the product clean, he said in the clip. No ties, no baggage. Voices in the chamber gasped. Silent stared straight ahead. They lied about me, about my mama, they made us ghosts, but we are real. One by one, the panel members nodded. Brandt was arrested within the hour. The tribunal declared Mira innocent. Her name restored. Her family real. Outside, snow had begun to fall again. But Mira didn't feel cold. Roar stood beside her, his arm in a sling. Silent clung to her hand. You said I was light rediscovered, she whispered. You are, Roar said, and now everyone sees it. She looked down at her daughter, then back up at the stars. I'm not afraid anymore. And this time she meant it. The days that followed the tribunal were not quiet, but they were different. There were questions, interviews, appeals, and signatures, but they were free. Free truly. No more hiding, no more nights with a plasma rifle gripped in one hand and fear in the other. Mira and Silent were granted protected status under the Free Orbit Coalition. Brandt's arrest rippled across systems, and though the syndicate still lurked in the shadows, they had lost a powerful face. But more importantly, Mira had a name again, not just in the system, in the world. The workshop remained home. Despite the Coalition's offers to relocate them to safer colonies, Roar declined gently. So did Mira. We built this, she said, it's ours. Roar nodded, we defend it together. Silent thrived in the quiet. She painted chalk shapes on the floor, strung beads into necklaces for the birds, and followed Mira around with wide, curious eyes. Can I fix things too? She asked one day. You can learn anything, Mira told her. Just like you learned from Roar. Oh yes. Spring bled into summer. Wildflowers bloomed across the hill behind the house. The river thawed and sang again. Mira sometimes sat by it alone, staring into the water, letting it whisper old wounds away. Roar would come find her there, not to interrupt, just to sit. You still thinking about the past? He asked once. I have too, she said, but it doesn't hurt like it used to. He placed a hand on the grass between them. That's healing, not forgetting. She took that to heart. They added a new room to the workshop, a real bedroom for Silen with windows facing the woods and curtains she helped sew herself. She drew a picture on the wall, her mother, and Roar standing under a yellow sun. The words "We live here" now scrawled in her messy, earnest handwriting. Roar kept it there framed. One afternoon, Roar collapsed while working on the water pump. Mira found him slumped against the pipe, his breathing shallow. Panic slammed into her. Roar. His eyes fluttered. "I'm okay," he said, voice thin. She didn't believe him. She dragged him inside, scanned him, wrapped him in blankets, forced water into his mouth. She held his hand until the fever broke that night. "You scared me," she said. "You were always braver than you knew," he whispered. "That doesn't mean I want to lose you." The next morning, Roar sat up, sore but recovering. He looked at her long and quiet. "I think it's time," he said. "For what?" "For me to stop pretending I don't love you." Mira didn't answer right away. She reached over, brushed a hand through his hair, and then rested her forehead against his. "Good," she whispered, "because I already stopped pretending." They didn't marry, not in any official sense. There was no ceremony, no law officer, no audience, just a promise spoken by the fire while Silence slept nearby. "We choose this," Roar said. "Every day," Mira agreed. And that was enough. Years passed. Silent grew, learned to weld and read, to chart the stars and split wire casings with a knife. She painted the walls of the workshop in wild colors, started her own garden, and collected stories from travelers who sometimes stopped by to trade. She still had nightmares sometimes. Mira would sit on her bed, sing the lullaby Roar once played for her. They shared that music like a thread between the dark and the light. On a warm summer morning, Mira took Silent to the river and showed her the hidden alcove beneath the stone bridge. "Your father used to bring me here," she said. Silent looked up. "Do you remember him?" "I remember his voice and his courage. He died fighting so we could be free." "I'm glad I have Roar now." "Me too." Roar built a windcatcher out of scrap metal and solar mesh. It powered half the house. Silent painted flowers on its base. Mira kept a journal. She wrote everything down: the darkness, the light, the fire, the child, the truth. "So I never forget," she said. "You won't," Roar replied, "but the world needs the remembering too." When a young girl arrived at their door one winter, barely clothed, her body shaking from hunger, Mira didn't hesitate. She gave her soup, a blanket, a name to borrow. "You can stay as long as you need," she said. The girl looked around, eyes wide. "This is a safe place." "The safest I know." Roar lit the fire. Silent brought the girl her favorite carved toy, and a new story began. On a night thick with stars, Mira sat with Roar on the porch. "You once told me I was light rediscovered," she said. "You still are. But now I know something more." "What's that?" She leaned against him. "That home isn't walls or roofs or maps. No. Home is a person, sometimes more than one, but always chosen, always held." Roar took her hand. "Welcome home, Mira." And under the open sky, beside the man who had opened a cell door and never stopped opening doors since, she whispered, "Thank you for seeing me, thank you for saving me, thank you for staying." He smiled. "You saved me too." And they sat, a family, whole and free. Not ghosts. Not fugitives. Real. Seen. Home. 3 years had passed since the tribunal. Silent was 9 now, bold and curious, and often ran through the woods behind the workshop with a scanner strapped to her back and a field journal clutched in one hand. She cataloged strange insects, traced bird calls in the trees, and declared that she would be a xenobiologist. "Or maybe a star pilot," she added one day. "Why not both?" Mira had said with a smile. Roar, watching them from the porch, simply nodded. "She takes after both of you, brave, impossible, and loud." "She's your daughter too," Mira said. "Not by blood. That never mattered." Their days had grown quieter but richer. The garden had expanded, merging with wildflower beds that stretched into the edge of the woods. Wind turbines spun slowly against the pale blue sky. The workshop had evolved too: a new forge, a greenhouse dome, a learning room filled with terminals. Visitors came now and then. Old resistance fighters, young refugees, traders from far sectors who knew the name of the woman who had faced a tribunal in silence while her daughter shattered it with truth. "They call you a symbol now," one traveler told Mira. "I'm not," she said. "Then what are you?" I'm a mother and a mechanic, and sometimes a memory. News came one morning that the syndicate had fractured. Brandt's trial had exposed more than expected. Entire data caches were leaked. Planets once dominated by false registries declared independence. Treaties reformed, broken ones mended. When Silent heard, she asked, "Does that mean no more girls like me?" "Maybe not yet," Mira said, kneeling beside her, "but fewer and someday none. I want to help them, the ones still waiting." "You will." In the late months of that year, a broadcast request came from the new Coalition Council. They asked Mira to speak at a summit on Lyoness, her homeworld, a gesture of reconciliation. She hesitated. Roar saw the worry in her eyes. "What are you afraid of?" "That it will feel like before, that I'll see the ruins of everything we lost. Or you'll see the people you helped rebuild it." She looked at Silent, who was trying on a jacket far too big and holding a mock datapad. "We could go together, all of us." "Then let's go." Lyoness was green again. It stunned her. The scorched fields of her memory were now orchards. The shattered towers had been turned into moss-covered monuments. People moved freely, no collars, no enforcers. At the summit, Mira wore simple gray, no medals, no titles. She stood before thousands, voice steady. "I am not here because I am special. I am here because someone opened a door and then stayed beside me when I walked through it." She looked down at Roar and Silent in the front row. "If you must remember anything, remember this: freedom begins with kindness. It is sustained with choice, and it grows through courage." Applause followed, but it was Silent's proud tears that stayed with her. That night they returned to a house loaned by the council. Old trees leaned over its eaves. Silent slept soundly in a sunroom filled with star-shaped pillows. Roar sat beside Mira on a balcony overlooking the glowing city. "You did well. I did what I had to. And you lit a beacons." She leaned on him. "Do you think we'll ever come back?" "Maybe, but home isn't a planet for us, it's a promise." She kissed his cheek. "Then we'll keep it." When they returned to the workshop, autumn had settled in. Silent ran to her garden, Roar dusted off the forge. Mira found her journal and added a new entry. Day 1156 since the fire. "My name is Mira, my daughter is free, my love is alive, we are not afraid. We build more than machines here, we build futures." Months later, a girl named Kelna arrived, clutching a broken drone and a burned datapad. She had no shoes, no name, and a 1,000-yard stare. Silent gave her her own blanket. Roar fixed the drone. Mira handed her a blank tag. "Pick a name," she said. Kelna blinked, then wrote Darit. She stayed, and another story began. In the fifth winter, Roar fell ill again. This time he didn't recover as quickly. Mira never left his side. Silent read him stories until he slept. "I'm not afraid," he said one evening, breath slow. "Don't say goodbye. I'm not just thank you for giving me a second life." Mira cried, but she smiled too. "Then you hold on to that life as long as you can." He did for weeks more, enough time to see spring come back. On the day of his passing, the sun rose clear. He went with Mira holding one hand, Silent the other. There were no chains, no darkness, only light. His body was buried beneath the tree near the hill, the one that bloomed blue flowers in summer. On the stone Silent carved, "Roar," he opened every door. Years passed. Silent became a pilot, Dury a writer. They called their ship Light Rediscovered. But every year, without fail, they came back to the workshop. Back to home. Back to Mira, who still sat by the forge, her hands calloused, her heart unbroken. Who still fed the fire every night. Who remembered. And who welcomed every child who came with a broken past and a dream for something more. "Come in," she'd say, "you're safe here." Because once someone had done the same for her. And she had never stopped passing it forward.